Right, I think Facebook's caught up with itself. So, welcome to the Curiosity Podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt Edmondson, and this is the Curiosity Podcast, a show all about e-commerce and dedicated to those of us who are trying to run our own e-commerce businesses all over the world. Whether we're a large company or a small company, we're here to help you with your e-commerce business. The show is sponsored by the incredible and amazing Curious Digital platform. If you are looking for a new e-commerce platform, do check out the Curious Digital platform. That's curious.digital, curious with a K, because it is well worth checking out. Let me tell you, it is the only platform that I use on all my e-commerce businesses. And the second sponsor of the show is Lightbulb Agency. I'm going to talk more about this in upcoming shows. I'm just giving you a sneak preview now. Lightbulb have got involved and they're quite an interesting company. And hopefully we're going to get some of those guys on the show. That's the mystery. That's the secret. More coming soon. But alas, without further ado, let me introduce to you today's guest. We have on the show Mr. Ian Moyse. Ian, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks for the invite. Do appreciate it.
No, it's great to have you here. Appreciate your time. It's a real honour. Ian is by day you're a sales director, aren't you?
That's correct. Yep.
For your sins, I suppose.
often in the evenings and weekends as well, unfortunately. But yeah,
can't escape it. It. But you're also an expert, you're a social influencer and an expert in personal branding. You've worked with some big name brands around the world. And that is specifically what we're going to get into in today's show, if I'm not mistaken.
Hopefully. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, you and me both. Good. We're on the same page, which is great. So thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. So let's start perhaps with a really obvious question. What is a personal brand go? Like I hear this phrase all the time, right? It's one of those phrases, personal brand is a big thing at the moment. Should I get my personal brand? So on and so forth. So what is it? Let's just start there, right?
Sure. So a lot of these things I think are made to be more illustrious than the name. Social. I'm not going to get into social selling. I talk about, but often, the name leads you to believe it's something different or it's something big and magical. So personal brand for me is pretty simple. It's how do you appear as an individual if someone looks for you, right? So we know as a company you'll have an impression of Coca-Cola or a retail brand based on the anything you've seen about them influences your opinion and perception of their values, what they are. Do you trust them? Do you like them? Or is it a brand you don't like? So, often you'll see if there's a disaster or something that company's done, there's bad PR around them, if they're not ethical and all the rest of it.
Sure.
So bring that to an individual. Your personal brand is, how do people view you? I could make a judgment on you, Matt, simply by, right, I've got your name. Well, let's say you're coming for an interview. Let's go for the simple example. Well, it's not difficult. I can search for you, right? And I can have a quick look. LinkedIn's the obvious one, but Facebook, Twitter, anything. What do you put out there? What represents you as an individual? And if I can see it, it's fair for me to look. And that represents your personal brand, whether you like it or not. And I often have a discussion with people where they go, yeah, but that's not fair, or, well, they shouldn't do that. Well, great.
Hey, we all do, right? You're totally right. The first thing we do is check them out.
Well, we do it on everything, right? We live in a world, the world has changed, where information is available at our fingertips 24/7, on the mobile, on the move. If you're going to buy something, how many of you don't look on Amazon and then look at the star rating, right? Oh, it's got 1 star from 3,000 people. And you immediately go away. You don't know those people. You don't know what the opinion was. If you're going to go to the cinema, you look on IMDb. You take, that's not a good rating. You take notice because it's so easy to do. So first one is personal brand. In your career goes with you wherever you go, and it's how you're represented. But the same in business. If you're going to speak at an event, or you want to be influential in your sector as the CEO of the business or someone important in the business, does that not leverage the opportunity your business has? right? Whether it be for investment, whether it be for the audience you attract.
Yeah.
And that's where, I fell into this accidentally. Let's be honest. I didn't set out to have a personal brand. Did I know what it was? No. Would I have called it that? No. It all came from being in sales leadership, realizing the world was changing, the customer was changing, and we had to change with it.
Yeah.
Right. If the customer's change and you as the seller don't change how you engage, you will get left behind. And we've seen that if you look at the likes of, Blockbuster's the example I always use. There's many more, but Netflix, right? Blockbuster didn't do anything wrong, but Netflix came along and did something different for the customer. We see it in retail, bricks and mortar happening all the time. The customer's changed, the supplier hasn't, therefore you suffer.
Yeah.
And businesses tend to think, well, this is marketing's job, this is down to corporate, but it's down to the individual as well. I talk to my salespeople of, you are going and meeting a human being. The human being is meeting you, not the brand. You represent the brand, but they're making a judgment on the business based on, do they like you? Do they respect you?
So do you find, like in your sales role, right, you've got your sales job going on, do you find that if you're going to go in and see somebody for the first time, let's say you're selling phones, right? And you're going to go in and you talk to them about phones. Do you find that the people you're going to go speak to have already checked you out, you personally? They've already looked at your LinkedIn. They've already looked at your social media. They've already started to find out things about you because they probably already know about the company, but they want to know about you. Is that what you're saying?
So often, yes. It's not all the time, and some of the time you won't even know. Right? On LinkedIn, it's great. You can see if someone's viewed your profile, unless they've done certain settings. And most people don't turn off the privacy and all the relevant settings to hide that.
Sure.
More often than not, though, I do it the other way around. I'll check that I'm going to meet them. So I'll look at them proactively. Yeah. And often, if you go and view someone's profile, have a look at how many times the same person will view you back, because they're curious who looked at me. Why did they look at me? And they'll look back at you. Right.
Yeah, that's true. And that LinkedIn tells you that, doesn't it? It gives
absolutely.
You that notification.
Yeah, so by looking at them, there's a good chance they'll look back. Well, I want to look at them. If I want to engage with you in some way, I want to know about you. I don't want to turn up cold. And depending on what you're selling, right, there's a different expectation. But if you're selling something of high value, you better check out who you're selling to. To go there naively, imagine going into a meeting and you say to them, tell me about you and your business. Really? They'd have expected you to have done some work beforehand. The next person comes in and utilizes information they've researched, they've spent effort. Who do they immediately value and think is going to look after them more? Yeah. Right? It's simple stuff. We used to go into someone's meeting and look on the wall and see a picture of sailing. And you might say, oh, where was that? Oh, God, I went sailing there recently. Now that happens before you meet them, right? There's a digital handshake. There's the first impression is a digital one often. So great, you can go suited and booted, but if they've already checked you out digitally and seen something that puts them off you, you can argue, well, they shouldn't have done that. It's not fair. They looked at my Facebook profile and I go out and get drunk at the weekends and there's all these stag pictures on there. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
But you've left it open. You've chosen to let the world see that. That, therefore, is their prerogative to see it. Right? It's on public domain.
And this is coming back to the first question, the whole thing about personal brand. This is what you're talking about, right? This is what you put out to the world for the world to see. That is, how do you, I guess one of my questions here is because I know a lot of people that will put stuff on, say, Facebook or Instagram, but it's the picture perfect stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit fake, if I'm honest with you. You sort of get a bit bored. How do you balance that, do you think?
So the first thing I say to people, and this advice, I've advised businesses and people I know have set up businesses, and you know about social media. What do we do? Some fundamental basics, and I think people get even the fundamentals wrong, even in large companies. Is firstly, don't try and tick a box to be on every platform for the sake of being on the platform. Where is your customer? What's your buyer persona? So a lot of this goes back to basics, right? But who is your customer? What is your product or service? Combine the knowledge of those two. Where do you need to be? Yeah. So let me give you a real world simple example. If you're selling artistic furniture that you design and it's funky and it's made out of metalwork or something that's visual.
Sounds good. I'm there. Yeah, right? I'm with you. Yeah.
Then Instagram fits because your product is visual. If people are attracted by what it is and you look at it and go, oh, that's interesting, then visual works, Instagram works. If you are selling manufactured widgets that the look and feel of them is totally irrelevant, people want to know the spec and why have you got an Instagram page where what are you going to post?
Yeah.
Your customer is not going to get any value and is not going to expect you to be there and is not going to be interested in seeing pictures of these widget or whatever it is, right? But I see too often businesses, small, large, open up every platform and then do them poorly because they've spread themselves thinly and feel like, why are you on there? And often when they say, well, I need to be on there, why? Is your customer really there? Where is your customer? What's your demographic? And if 99% of your customers are B2B, LinkedIn fits, right, and perhaps Twitter.
Yeah.
If they're all consumer and they're on Facebook and you're addressing housewives, for example, as a demographic,
yeah.
Well, are there groups? Where are they like? Is your customer expecting to engage with you on social?
Yeah.
And relative to what you're selling, be there and do it incredibly well. You don't have to tick Snapchat. If your audience is not there, if your audience isn't on LinkedIn, have a profile for your company so it's credible and all the rest, and business B2B. But don't put your content there if that's not where your audience is. If your audience wants graphical content, do it on a platform where your audience will expect to find it, and nurture and be good at one. And that's where you want your brand to be as a company. Same for you as an individual, right? Now, I'm on all platforms because I ended up talking about social and got dragged into it. But originally, I was on LinkedIn. Didn't touch another platform. And then as I realized the benefit and the brand, I went on to Twitter.
Okay.
Then a little bit Facebook, then Instagram. So those are the four broad ones, right? And I'm on the German LinkedIn Zing now. Because of the nature of what I do, it makes sense for me to be on them, so I understand them. If I'm talking about social media,
you're talking.
It's different.
You're a personal branding expert, right? So it makes sense for you to know how all the platform works. But what you're saying is, not everybody's a personal branding expert. You have a personal brand, but figure out where your customers are and use that platform and become good at that platform, which is probably just one or two.
Now, it doesn't mean you as an individual can't be on the other platforms, right? But then figure out, well, do I want the world to see everything I post on Facebook about my family or my kid? It might be, often people use it to share family stuff with their friends and extended family around the world. Okay, that's fine. Make it private to the connections you've got, in which case you can carry on using it as well. The people you want to see your content see it, but you haven't put it out to the general world for the sake of it. Therefore, you can't get misinterpreted, or you don't have to worry about what you post because it doesn't affect your personal generic brand to the world. Your friend's view of you is totally different from the neutrality of a potential business partner or some investors you're trying to get to invest in you. And again, it comes down to, it's not about your opinion or where you think it's fair or whatever. If it's public, people can look, and we see this too often in the political world. We've recently seen a newsreader, right, fired after 40 years for a tweet that was done, a quote that he always used that was interpreted in a particular way that none of us know if that's how he meant it, but all the signs are he didn't. But that's how it was perceived, and it was in the public domain. Therefore, a 40-year career has just ended. One tweet,
which is. It's crazy,
it's all about perception. All about perception. That's what personal brand is. It's not about what your opinion is. It's what the viewer judges you by what they can see of you. And Google does a fantastic job, of course, of indexing everything in every way that even if you've buried it, it'll appear.
Yeah, you can't escape Google, can you? So I've got this personal brand, or I've got this understanding that I've got a personal brand. I know where my customers are. I know that if I'm putting stuff out there in the public domain, it is a permanent record, and remember that. Yep. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot in the e-commerce world these days, more and more actually, is the smaller sites are becoming like they're basing it around a product, but also around an owner of the site. So when you go to the site, you get to know that person that owns the site, the head of it, and who's running it. They become like the face of it, if you like. Have you noticed that trend, or is that just something that I've just imagining? Is that
no? And I think that even, well, let's be frank. Let's go the extreme. Virgin, right? What do you think of the minute you say that? You think Richard Branson. He's the face of that business. It's not just small companies. You can think Alan Sugar, right? I'm talking UK examples. I won't go Trump because by definition, that's a whole other branding issue on it. Spend a day on that one. But absolutely, and if you've got experts in your business in the area you're in, it's very easy in today's world for them to have a public voice globally. It's not about getting a PR agency, getting on TV, radio. You can create it overnight. And that's what's happened to me, right, by accident. I work in the cloud computing arena, now also known for speaking on other subjects as we do here. And through being on social and writing a blog about an opinion, and I know what I'm talking about, and my style is to write very conversational. I mean, trained to write or anything. So I write something. My blogs have been picked up, and I now get approached, as you discussed at the beginning, by large global brands. Can you write a blog for us? Can you write an opinion piece as an influencer in the cloud community? Because if we write it, it's absolutely biased or Can you come to our event and then report about it with your opinion of where it fits into the market?
Sure.
And accidentally through that, now I get invited to events, flown to events, do blogs, social influencing, etc. for companies as an agnostic knowledge in the industry. And I've got to know interesting lots of other influencers, and we compare notes from around the world because we're all doing the same thing. And often you bump into people at an event and go, and the vendor that's got you to be there is often surprised that they've got 5 people there and 3 of you know each other really well because this goes on, right? But I've ended up doing that by accident because I've created content from something I'm passionate and expert about. And that's grown my personal brand that you get published and your blogs get published on other sites. Now, if you're a business owner or in your own business and you're in travel, for example, you'll have opinions on the travel trends that are going on, etc. By doing that and putting information out there, that represents you as an individual. You don't want to put it out on the company. No one wrote it. It's you and your knowledge and experience and authority and that's behind that content. So yes, it may come out from your company blog, but it's you as the representative. You build your personal brand. And if a journalist sees something and wants commentary on something that's happened, it's you they'll come to. They may come via your company, but it's you they want to speak to. They don't go, can I speak to XYZ company, please? No, they'll call the company, go, I want to speak to Dave, I want to speak to Sue, because I see them as an authority and I need a comment. And there's plenty of people in the industry we see as influencers. In travel, Simon Calder comes to mind. Every time there's a travel disaster of anything, he's on the news. He's pulled everywhere because he's seen as this thought leader expert in that particular sector.
Yeah.
If you want to have that value to your business, it's about your personal brand, your personal equity, your credibility statement, and you will get called upon.
So how do you... acknowledging that personal brand is important, right? And you have an opinion, you stand for something, you become known in that industry area. How do you, if you're starting from scratch, like if you're at ground zero, or you've got a new business and you think, oh, this is great. How do I do that without spending 40% of my life on social media, which I think is a big concern for a lot of people, right? But what's your strategy? What's the way to do this?
Yeah, and if I dropped everything, as you said, I've got a day job which is incredibly busy, and I have done all through that period. Have I had the luxury of dropping it and going, right, I'll take 3 months off and figure out how to do this? No, and it's not quick, right? You don't overnight do a couple of things and suddenly you get the results. You have to earn the results. But firstly, you need to look good on social media and credible, right?
Yeah.
And that's from even down to the photograph you use. How much time have you spent picking the right photo?
Yeah.
Right. And what you've written about yourself in your profile, and that stuff you can do sat in front of the TV, right? If you care about, if it's your startup business, you care about it. You're not working 9 to 5, right? Mm-hmm. that by definition, if you are, there's a good chance you're going to fail anyway. Successful entrepreneurs aren't a 9 to 5, or that, the two are direct conflict. So for me, the great thing about this is it's stuff you do in front of the TV, stuff you can do ad hoc here and there. Once you've got your baseline in, it's nurturing it and tuning it as you go. It's not about, I've got to spend 5 hours a day. I'll do it I'll do social now when I'm in a taxi and I've got 30 minutes, or I'm early for a meeting. I'll do bits and bobs and share content or comment on people's content and take part. Writing the content, and that comes down to, if you know your stuff, you can probably write it.
Yeah. No.
Now, I know my stuff about what I talk about, and I just write it. And I've had a lot of comment back of, we like how you write because it's just conversational. It's not formulaic. It's not edited by someone into this, corporate boxed in view. I just write it from the heart. I'll see something and that will spark something I know about, whether it be customer experience, and I'll have a bad customer experience and I'll talk about it, and this is how it could have been better, and give insight, etc. It's giving, depending what you're on, if you know your stuff, it's giving insight and value to the reader.
Yeah.
And then you post it on your LinkedIn profile to start with, right? Or share it on many of the... You learn organically, and you'll be surprised how quickly people are all looking for content. What you're looking for is to put something out there that gets shared by the relevant people.
Sorry, I'm going to put a photo of this on Instagram because I feel like I need to post on social media as we talk. Yeah.
But the other part of this is, if you create a credible brand for yourself, so you just look good. That's about looking good and credible online. If you're an artist, there's nothing wrong with your picture being there with paintbrushes and paint on you, right? Because that's what you do.
Yeah.
If you're in corporate banking, it needs to be appropriate to the audience and what you do. So it isn't we all have to look the same. It's you need to look relevant to what your audience would expect for what you're in, right? So you're not going to be on there looking shabby if you're selling in a high value enterprise product into a corporate environment. So you make yourself look appropriate, look professional as you can, tune it up a bit, and there's a few tips and tricks you can do there we may come on to in the time. And then it's about getting noticed by the area you want to be noticed by. So for me, in the sales and social community and in the cloud community, I started looking at who are the influencers there. I wasn't. Who are they? I'd follow them. And then I'd look at the content they share.
Wherever they were, like with
LinkedIn, on Twitter or whatever, I'd follow them. And then I'd add comment. If they post a blog they've written, I'd have a look at it and I'd add some commentary. Because if I know about that subject, there's usually something I can say, right? If it's about archaeology, I don't know that subject, so nothing to say. I could read it 10 times and have nothing to say. Cloud computing, I've got an opinion.
Yeah.
I'd comment. I'd add some commentary or some value, or maybe actually I agree with that, but I disagree with that point you said. And here's an article. So you do it
respectfully, right? You
absolutely.
Respectfully,
and you've got to do it from authority. Don't comment on something or jump in on something you don't know about. Don't flame them for the sake of flaming. I think that's a load of rubbish. Okay, why?
Yeah,
I don't know. I just think it's a load of rubbish because I want to take an opposing view. No. But what I'll often do is comment of, I disagree with that point, though, because from my experience, I've seen this. There's nothing wrong with that. If you genuinely have a valid point, make it. And what you'll find is people appreciate commentary. You don't have to agree to comment, as long as you've got context and can back it up.
Yeah.
But get engagement. It's about engaging. And often what I'd find is those experts would engage back. And over time, they'd follow my content. And so for me, I would go through that perspective, and I'd then see people follow me. And they're looking at what content I write or share, right? And then they'd like it or comment on me. So slowly I was becoming a part of that environment or authority.
I think the key words you said there, and I just want to pull it out, is the word slowly, because the methodology that you're talking about is genuine, it's authentic. We're building a conversation. I'm getting to know you. You're getting to know me. This is not follow, unfollow, just a program trying to build numbers. This is actually building genuine connections with people, and that takes time, but in the long run it makes much more sense. And I thought that was really important with what you said. Sorry.
That's all right. And in doing so, though, think about this. The minute you comment, they're going to look back and say, well, particularly if it's an opposing view, how much credibility is this? Who is this person? They're going to look back at your profile. And if you look like a joker with nothing on the profile, no credibility, it's just blank with a job title. Really?
Yeah.
I want them to realise, I've got a valid opinion to add here. Look, I've got experience. Look, I'm credible. Look at there's my personal brand. Let's engage.
Yeah.
And through this, let's give some reality of, well, what's the benefit? Well, I've got the valid point. So I've, through doing this, got to meet some incredibly important people, some best-selling book authors from around the world. That,
oh, wow.
I take pride in that if they follow me back and then engage with me, they've chosen that there's a reason to do so. I must look credible and authentic and have a good personal brand that, hey, they're following me back. Then guess what? They start to share my content to their audience. They see me write a blog and go, and their audience, let's say, is 50,000 people of the right audience.
Yeah.
So if you're
have you had that happen to you? Have you had people share your content?
I get it happen all the time now because I've earned that over time.
Yeah.
That it gets shared. So if it's in the cloud industry and I write something on cloud, a lot of the cloud influencers around the globe and people in senior positions, they now follow me. And I'll see it sometimes. If you write good stuff or contribute good content or an opinion, guess what? They share it on to their 50,000 followers, whatever it might be. Yeah. Same in the sales community. When I write about things like personal branding, some of the top book authors globally share my content on. I've met some of them because when they've come to the UK, they've reached out. Well, they've reached out. Ian, it feels like we know each other. Through all the engagement we've had over the past couple of years, I'm coming to London. You're not around on this date, are you? We'll grab a coffee.
That's great. That's
and it now becomes a real way. It goes from rapport, electronic rapport, to starting to become a real relationship. And there's nothing wrong. Guess what? At that point, if I write a bit of content that I think is valid to their audience, I don't just share it and copy them in. I'll reach out to them with a personal direct message saying, Joanne, Mark, I hope you like this blog. We wouldn't mind sharing this with your followers, would you? I asked them to do it.
Yeah.
Because I've earned that right now, and credibility, and the personal brand is valid.
And again, that's key. You've earned the right to ask them to share your content.
Yeah.
Because
you
people contact people all the time,
don't
they? Yeah. I've written this blog post. Can you post it to your audience? Like, I don't know who you are. I genuinely don't. I must get an email a week with that request, and you're like, I have no idea who you are. I've got better things to do, if I'm honest with you. But it's like you say, you've earned that right. You've built this relationship up over time. And
I'll tell you what, Matt. Let me give you this. If that was someone sent you that and they looked credible, and you clicked and saw their profile, and their profile was, astronomical. They're a big book author, for example, or they're a speaker in the US. You might consider sharing it then and feel flattered they'd asked you because their personal brand carries the equity.
Very true.
Alan Sugar sent you that, genuinely. Yeah. People would share the content, right? Because the personal brand carries the weight to say, wow, they asked me to do this. So that's where it fits, right? What you're getting is probably people who've got no brand equity. You take one look and go, why am I going to do that for them? Because they haven't earned it. And the personal brand is a big part of earning that. It's a step towards it out of the gate.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, the trouble is, I think people will read stuff these days like, you've got to build your personal brand, you've got to connect with influencers, and they go and they'll connect with whoever, they'll go find Richard Branson and try and connect with him on social media, and, or it's not worked, and they'll connect with people and ask, and just straight away, can you share this content with your audience? Because somebody somewhere has told them to do that. And you know what? I think there's the returning of common sense, which says, actually, I have to win this person. I have to build a relationship with this person because we've got something in common, and actually they're genuinely good people to know.
So
right?
Let me give you a contextual example. Absolutely agree. Take it to the real world. People behave different electronically because I think they can. Real world, if I walked up to you and bumped into you on the street and said, Matt, well, I wouldn't know your name then, right? But it'd be, excuse me, big smile, good morning. I hope you don't mind. Could I ask you the time? You're probably going to give me the time, right?
Sure.
Because I'm asking for a very small thing, and it was there was a bit of rapport. If I said, excuse me, good morning, you couldn't give me 10 quid, could you? Because I really need £10 right now. You know the reaction you're mostly going to get because the ask I'm having of you, it outweighs any rapport I've got.
Sure.
Right? That's the simplicity thing. And yet on social, I've got I've earned no right, but I'm going to ask you to do something which is big for me. For you, I'm asking you to share this with your 30,000 followers.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's the problem. You wouldn't do it in the real world. You wouldn't walk up to someone at an event over coffee and straight away start to pitch them or ask them to do something. Wouldn't mind coming and help me unload. What? You would have a chat with them. Right? Go, well, how did you get here this morning? And during the day, you might say, oh, do you know what? You couldn't. I saw you talking to that guy over there. You couldn't introduce me, could you? Because you've built a bit of rapport. The more and it's the same on social. You have to build that interaction, right? And people don't like that because it's not instantaneous gratification. And it's as far as liking people's content, and that isn't going through and liking every post they've ever made for the sake of it. It's like something and maybe add a comment or reshare a piece of their comment. That appears in their feed and their notifications. And they might not notice it the first time and don't expect them to suddenly follow you back. But if Donald Trump shared one of your tweets, you'd notice that because the brand that individual's got, straight away, you're right. So it depends on the more brand you've got, the less effort you need to put in. Let's be frank. If I share someone's content on cloud, it's more likely I'll get a follow back because they'll take a few looks and go, actually, I'm widely published. All the rest of it, actually, will follow in. Oh, crikey. I didn't have that at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any brand, I didn't have any equity to ride on the back of. It was, who the hell's this guy? So I had to do the other way around. The more you get into this, the easier it becomes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm totally with you on it. I'm totally with you on that. So when we talked sort of before we came on air, you had some really interesting ways to hack this as well, didn't you? So yes, we've got the principle, and the principle is time, investment, build credibility, don't be a jerk, and just, connect with some great people. And know that's going to take a bit of time, but if you do it, it's going to be worthwhile, right?
Yep.
So what are some of the hacks, the tips, the tricks that you've discovered to making that process easier and much more effective?
Sure, and I like things like this because they either work or they don't for you. And so I'll give you some small ideas and tips. But they're easy to do, and you can discount them quickly or use them quickly.
Sure.
I get fed up of going to events where there's this illustrative thing, and then the thing you get told about is, oh, you need to invest about £20,000 before you can even start. Right? It's like, right? Or it's so much effort, I'm never going to. I intend to do. It sounds great, but when am I ever going to get round to that? So I like small, insightful things. So some easy examples, right? If you're on Twitter, for example, create a Twitter list. And I didn't know this at the beginning. If you want to connect with a particular type of purpose, maybe it's journalists around your particular sector, and your sector is ceramic this or whatever, or experts in this, create a group that's called something flattering. Don't call it my prospect list or my people I want to influence, right? Because when you add them, they'll see the name of the list.
Right, okay.
So create something.
So that's why you call it flattering. So when they see that name, they're like, okay, cool journalists in the ceramic industry.
Yeah, or influencers in cloud.
Yeah.
Right? And then add the people to that list. It's your little group. But when you add them, it puts a notification. Unless they've turned it up, most people don't turn anything off. They get a notification. Ian has added you to Cloud Influencers list. Guess what? The chances are a lot of people will click and have a look who Ian is.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity and flattery.
Yeah.
I do it. Even now, if someone adds me to some list with a name on it, I want to know who else is on the list.
Sure.
And who's it added to me, right? Even if you make the list private, by the way, which you can do, be aware that if you ever change it to public, and this is something people never know, if you ever just change it to a public list, the minute you do, they all get that alert then. So just never call it anything that you wouldn't want them to see, because at some point you will click that one button, and even in 6 months, a year's time, and go, I'll make the list public. Actually, they'll all get a notification added to Ian's top people to follow for this to try and get connected with and meet or whatever. They're going to see it. So that's one easy one, right? And invariably, people look back. My goal is always do things that get you noticed in a positive manner by the people you want to be noticed by.
Sure.
Because I want people to choose to follow me and choose to, therefore, the minute they follow you, anything you post goes into their feed and they might share. I don't have to tag them in. They've chosen to say, I want to see what you put out there. What a flattering thing, and what a validation also that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
What you don't want is influencers going, I'm unfollowing him. Well, that means you're doing something bad, right, or you're putting rubbish out, and they're fed up seeing it. Another quick example, a key thing on your personal brand across any social platform is your photo.
Okay.
Because first impression, we're always told if you're going to meet people, first impressions count. Have a firm handshake. You wouldn't go into a meeting in your worst gardening clothes covered in paint unless you're a gardener.
Or a painter.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. If you turn up covered in paint and you say, you're quoting for decorating a house, people expect it. It's fine. If you go to a meeting for a job in banking like that, what? So why on social media do you not care about the profile? People go, well, I do. Okay. How did you decide what photo to use? Well, I asked my wife and I asked a couple of people which one was best, and they said this one. Right. Really? I've scientifically tested my photo, and it's really easy, and you can do it for free, right? There's a site called photofeeler.com.
Photofeeler.com.
And it's not as
Feeler
dodgy
as in feeling, Feeler.com.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's not as dodgy as the name may sound, so you can go there safely.
Just type it carefully. That's all we're going to say. Yeah.
So I came across it by accident, and I thought I'd done what everyone else did, and that's the picture. And I came across this site by accident, and it's where Facebook started, in fact. You put a photo on and other people rate you. Right, but it's not for hotness and stuff where Facebook started. What this site lets you do is, so for business or personal, you choose that, and then it has some criteria that people can just click on and give a vote. So it's really quick. So you put your photo in, you say business, and you will get people selecting. And I think it's something like authority, trustworthiness, or something. There's 3 criteria, and they just click rating wise, and all they've got to judge you by is the photo. No name. No job title, no country, nothing.
So there's just all first impressions based on that photograph from there.
What is that photo? Based on that photo, does this person look trustworthy? Yes or no? Bum.
Yeah.
And Photo Feeler, when you go on, it says there's a fee for doing this. But if you go and vote on other people, which takes 5 minutes in front of the TV, right? You go da. For everyone you vote, you get a credit, and you earn credits, and then you can say, right, now I can use my credits to get a free vote back on me.
Okay.
Simple.
Yeah.
So I tested, and when I present on this with slides, we won't bring it up now, but I show, and I get a good laugh out of this, right? Here's the photo I used to have, and here's the photo I changed it to, and it's the same. It was a corporate, one of those bio shots that they do, and they do multiple, and it was me like this without glasses, right? That's what I used, because I didn't used to wear glasses and vanity and without glasses. When I came across this site, I was just curious. What? So I switched it on the site. I did the one without glasses that I was using, got the rating. I switched it and did it with one with glasses. So that's the difference. There's me.
Yeah.
There's me.
That was the only change.
Nothing. And I am incredibly more trustworthy, apparently, with glasses than without. It went something like, I forget it, but I've got it on the slide, right? Wow. 58% trustworthy to 83% or something.
Hang on.
You're gonna,
I'm good to go now.
but it's different. That was individual to me. For you, sure. you might get the opposite result, right? Because it's individual on that face and that picture. Interestingly, and the shot was something there, and I forget which way it was. I then flipped the picture, so it's definitely the same picture. Because I flipped it on the PC and posted facing the other direction. It went up again.
Yeah.
So the reason my photo, my bio, and I'm going to update it shortly because I've had a guy called the Headshot Guy, free advert for him there, has done me a load of new shots because my others were probably 5 years ago, and be fair and authentic. I just haven't got around to do it. So I've got a ton new ones, but I've got to run them through the test first and have them do that. But the reason my photo is glasses facing a particular direction is because that one gave the best results from people who didn't know me.
You went and got the data, didn't you? Rather than just
guessing, so I know now that photo gets me the best first impression. Not from everyone, but overall the demographic says that one's the one likely to get me the best first impression purely from the photo. Boom, there's a tip, and it's easy to do. How many people have bothered to do it, right? And it doesn't matter. Well, do you wear a suit when you go to visit a meeting? Do you make any effort? Do you shave? Yes. Why do you bother? You obviously bother because you think how people look at you. Well, digital is often the first impression today. And even if that's a 0.1% better impression they get, I want the better impression. Why would you do that? Because once you've changed it, it doesn't cost you anything, right? Put a few minutes. Another quick example, another hack you've got is a wonderful site. There's a couple actually called Fiverr.com.
Yep.
There's another one called 5squid.com. It's pretty much the same.
Is that one the British version of it?
Yeah. Right. But for $5 or £5, whatever, there is an immense amount of resource out there. So people often comment on my social, wow, that picture you used for that blog, or there's photographs of me or different styles and that grab attention. And there's also videos I've done, I'll post often, where they look incredibly professional. And I go, how did you get that done? Was that expensive? And I sort of have an inner laugh when I have to tell them, it was £5. They're like, what? And I've told marketing people this, right? And they're blown away, because historically you'd have to have a Photoshop expert spend, and I haven't got time for that. I could go and learn I just go on Fiverr and look for a gig. When it's Christmas, you'll see social videos for Christmas that I've done. When it's Easter, when it's Valentine's coming up, you'll see social posts from me that are, Happy Valentine's to all my followers. But it's an excuse. There's an inflection. There's always a day for everything, right? It's pancake day. It's carrot cake day. It's whatever. So how far do you want to go, right? And
anybody from America is going pancake day.
Well, there's a site you can register for that I get an alert every week now that tells you this week what every day is. We know May the 4th is Star Wars Day, right? May the 4th, right?
Yeah.
But there's something for every day. So if you want an excuse to engage with your followers, and some of them are extreme beyond belief, right? There's a donut day, whatever.
But which is good if you actually sell donuts or have anything to do with donuts. You need to know that there's a donut day and celebrate that with your followers, right?
But there's every, so I do videos on these things to extend my personal brand at low cost. So whatever you're in, you can go and get videos done that are appropriate and incredibly professional. And it varies, right? They start at £5, but
and do you, having used Fiverr myself, I guess one of my questions would be, is quality control? Because I found with Fiverr, you get great and you get rubbish.
I've looked at the reviews. I've done over 400 gigs on there, which if my wife hears will be interesting when she works out how much I've spent personally out of my own pocket, right? Because.
Sorry, we're only videoing this, Ian.
That's all right. Well, as I've built personal brand, I've done more of it because I've got the results. So actually, I don't mind investing more into it because I didn't do that at the beginning. Sure. And now I pay for some tools I use. And sometimes I get free tools offered, right, from because they want my opinion on these tools because of where I've ended up doing this stuff. But going back to your point, there's always going to be bad on there. But what I've found is where someone's done me a gig and I've had a few where it's not quite what I wanted, I've gone back to them and they've been they don't want bad reviews, right? So they've corrected it and put effort in. Or I've had a couple out of that 400 or so where they've said, actually, I'll refund your money. They don't want a bad review because these are individuals. They're not companies. These are individuals in their bedroom creating their own little business, and they take
reviews are everything. They
take pride in what they do, and they don't want a bad review. So they fix it, right? And I don't mind if someone says, actually, I'm not the one then, but have your money back.
No, that's great.
I've not had a bad experience, or I wouldn't keep going back there. And in general, I would say I've had in the high 90s as a good experience. And even where it's been bad, it's been a good outcome. I've never had an argument where I've had to escalate to Fiverr and this isn't fair. Never.
That's great. To be fair, neither have I. It's and when you find people that you can work well with, stay with them. Jeez,
I've got repeat stuff where I go back and they do Photoshop and. For $5, they do what would take me hours to figure out in 5 minutes because they're an absolute expert at what they do. Why not outsource it?
Oh, it makes total sense. I totally get it. So we've got build social media lists, sort out your photo, use Fiverr, do something promotional that resonates with your tribe at the different points of the year. So Valentine's Day is a classic one. That's coming up soon. Yep. You've got Easter, whatever resonates for your industry. Give us one final tip, because I appreciate time is we've got to respect time, but sort of what would be your final tip?
All right, here's an easy one that takes 10 seconds then. You're going to have to go to my profile to do it though, right? So there's a point. So if you look, let's do on LinkedIn, right? But it works across the different platforms. And I saw this because I saw someone else do something, and I'm always looking for those little tips myself.
Sure.
And I looked at it and went, oh, and then I've plagiarized exactly what they did and copied. So, on the social profile, if you look on LinkedIn, and my name's relatively unique, right? But if your name's John Smith and someone searches John Smith, there'll be 1,000 come up.
Yep.
But if you tag me in on a post or anything, my name, my profile on LinkedIn will stand out in that list of other people you've tagged. You tag 30 people in, my name will jump out. And I'll tell you why. Because in my name profile on there, I've put an icon at the end.
Okay.
But it's not built into the platform to do that. What you have to do is cut the icon from a site that has icons supported by social media. What I did initially was cut that icon from someone else's profile because they'd got it on there, so I knew it would work. And I just copied it. So have a look at my profile. So you copied it
off their profile on LinkedIn.
I've got a little tick, right? And people go, how did you get that official tick on your profile? Did LinkedIn award you it? Because it stands out on any list, right? Because it's a green tick. I think I've got a green one. It might be a blue one now, but... and it jumps out. And all I've done is put it into the name profile. Now, put it at the end, not at the beginning. Because if you put it at the beginning, it screws with LinkedIn's indexing. Because if you search for someone, it searches the beginning bit, and it can't understand.
It can't find you. Okay, but
because
yeah. But at the end, it's fine because you've.
But have a look at my profiles on different profiles. Why have I put? And you look on my Twitter profile. I've got different fonts in the description, and people, how did you do that? Because I found websites where if you search icons to use on social media bios, I found sites that have all the fonts you can use. So you do it and you cut and paste it. But I didn't know they existed because I didn't know you could do it. And I find an incredibly minute number of people have ever sussed this out or use it. But it makes your profile stand out. In any list or profile, people look at it, it just looks more appealing.
Sure.
Another quick one for you in the same way, cross-link your profiles. If you're on Twitter and LinkedIn, on LinkedIn, put a link to your Twitter account in the profile and vice versa, unless you've hidden it and it's personal. So when someone's on it, I hate the fact if I have to look at someone on another profile, another platform, and I have to go on there and search their name. And then I'm going, is that? And they've used a different photo. Is that Matt? Is that not Matt? Is it? Is that the same person? Make it easy for your audience to see your personal brand. Cross-link all your profiles. So if you find me on one, you will find it really easy to find me on the other.
Yeah. No, it's great.
You, the audience, I make it easy for you. If you choose to do that, I've made it easy. Why would I make it hard?
Yeah. No, it's very good. Hey, listen. Thanks, Ian. I love this conversation. I love this conversation about personal branding, especially I think if you're in e-commerce, people want to know the person behind the business. They want to know who they're buying from, and they want to see you and understand you and know what it's all about. And so thanks, Ian, for sharing your tips on personal branding.
And I'm glad we're wrapping up because it is unprofessionally. I didn't bring battery power with me, and mine's telling me I need to go back to my desk. So
yeah, it's getting towards the useful. Hey, listen, how do people connect with you? How do people get a hold of you if they want to sort of connect with you? Sure,
I'll make it easy. www. Shouldn't even need to say that, right? That's my dumbness. ianmoyse.co.uk. And
Ian Moyse. Little slide. There we go. Yep.
Fine. And ianmoyse.cloud. There's the final personal branding tip. It costs me nothing to register those domains. One of them will take you straight to my LinkedIn, one to my Twitter account. And I've done that across all my socials. So I don't even need to remember. And so I don't say go to LinkedIn and search for Ian Moyse. I've taken a step out. Go to ianmoyse.co.uk. You are straight on my LinkedIn profile and you know it's 100% me. And it costs me hard pennies a year to just renew those domain names.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yes. Another top tip. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Make sure you connect with Ian and reach out to him and tell him you said, how's it? And that you connected with him through the show. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got. I mean, that's right? Awesome.
Yep.
So listen, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you stay connected and subscribe as we do more of these Facebook Lives and turn them into podcasts, all on The Curiosity Show. Let us know how you find them. It is a bit of an experiment and one that I'm enjoying at the moment. I have to be honest with you, it's going super well. But let us know what you think. It'll be great to hear from you. Do stay subscribed to the podcast on all your favourite stations. We're there, and we will be broadcasting again very soon on Facebook Live. So make sure you sign up for the Facebook Live notifications. Ian, once more, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. And thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you in the next show.